What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellowship. My name is Kyle. Tonight, we are going to be hanging out and just reviewing the post-game notes. I hope you guys had a lovely weekend. We're going to just go through each game by game. We'll give you guys the snaps, the routes, the rushing attempts, the targets, all that good stuff, and we'll kind of just tell you guys what we learned or what we need to take note of going forward. So we're going to start with that Thursday night football game. Lamar Jackson returned. Derrick Henry kind of got his mojo back. Zay Flowers returned to like a wide receiver 2 status. And then we saw Mark Andrews catch a couple touchdowns. He's still not getting a great tight end usage. He ran 17 out of the 27 routes. I think likely more snaps than Andrews, just not as many routes. I do think likely is going to be a factor going forward. He's kind of that number 3, number 4 target. We did see Rashad Bateman pitch in too. He ran 26 of the 27 routes, and he was participating, just with some big plays as well. So going forward, I think we're kind of just back with the Baltimore Ravens. You got Derrick Henry, startable as a low-end RB1. You're starting Lamar Jackson. You're starting Zay Flowers. Bateman can maybe be picked up, but we know he's going to be kind of boom bust. I don't really care about any other Baltimore receivers. And then Mark Andrews is a low-end tight end 1. It doesn't have the great usage. He's going to need a touchdown to make your day. And they really spread it out among all 3 tight ends. Charlie Kolar caught a touchdown. Isaiah Likely had the big plays. So it was nice to see just Lamar back and dealing with everybody. So hold on to Mark Andrews. You guys can snag Isaiah Likely if you want to stash him. But otherwise, it's just kind of business as usual for the Baltimore Ravens. Miami Dolphins. Devon Achane, continues to perform as a top 5 running back. Jalen Waddle, it was nice to see him make some big plays. He had most of his work in the first half, not so much in the second half. But he's going to be a wide receiver 2 going forward. Malik Washington does get some volume. He got some rushing attempts. He lost a fumble. I don't really want to mess with any other receiver not named Waddle for Miami. And the tight ends, I guess we should take note. Greg Dulcich was, I think it was his first game active for Miami. And he led the tight ends in routes with 20 total routes, second in snaps. Not a full-time player, but, he was out there 20 routes and he gets 5 targets. So that's a pretty good target per route run, 25% share for Greg Dulcich. So he might be worth picking up and seeing what he can do. I don't know if I'm going to trust him this week, but it is pretty noteworthy for him to get the 5 targets and the 5 catches. Ollie Gordon left with an ankle issue. It looked like he was going to be involved, maybe, between 5 and 10 touches in this one. It looked like it was planned, and just the ankle rolled up on. It's not serious. He might be back this week. Still remains a stash play. And then 2 is just a flexy, super flex, middling QB 2-3. So didn't really learn much from the Dolphins. They need some help, though. They're looking to maybe trade Jalen Waddle for the right price, but this Dolphins season slowly swirling down the drain. And good evening there to Tony. Hope you're doing well, my man. Chicago Bears. This game was fun. This Sunday game, Chicago, Cincinnati, 47-42. This was quite the high-scoring game. And the thing that stuck out the most was the Rome Odunze goose egg. 0 points, 3 targets, ran every single route, played every single snap, 0 fantasy points. So that's pretty alarming there. I think he's going to be fine. Just a blip in the radar kind of thing. Olamide Zaccheaus actually led the team with 8 targets on the day. Team high 6 catches, 17.8 points. In deeper leagues, you can think about adding Zaccheaus. We finally got some DJ Moore usage, which was good to see. So he's going to be more in our circle of trust for wide receiver 3. The big thing here, though, was Kyle Monangai held his own as the lead running back for the Chicago Bears. 25 routes run, 26 rushing attempts, 4 targets, 3 catches, no touchdown, but holy smokes, 23 fantasy points for the rookie. Might have a little bit of a conundrum on our hands here if DeAndre Swift comes back. Maybe Kyle Monangai is the lead back and Swift kind of takes a back seat. So we're going to watch for that, see if Swift is back from his injury next week. Otherwise, it certainly looks like you got something with Kyle Monangai. Huge game from Caleb Williams, the receiving touchdown, passing touchdowns. He was just doing all kinds of stuff. And honestly, this was a career game for him. Huge comeback win. And Colston Loveland, finally, a rookie tight end, first-round pick, making us see why he was a first-round pick. I know Cole Kmet left early with a concussion, so this could lead to another big Colston Loveland day. He did run about 75% of the routes, played most of the snaps. In this one, if Cole Kmet can't play in week 10, Colston Loveland, man, he's probably a pickup of the week here. So the Bears offense, despite scoring 47 points, no Rome Odunze action, but everybody else was totally a smashing success. So good news for the Bears as they're just trying to remain consistent on offense at this point. Cincinnati Bengals, a little bit of a disappointment game here. No touchdown for Jamar Chase, but hey, you still got your 17 points. It was Andre Yoshivas who ended up making a lot of big plays with his 5 catches, 18 fantasy points. Of course, T. Higgins caught the 2 touchdowns. I believe he was checked out for a concussion, but everything came back okay. So huge day for the Cincinnati Bengals pass catchers. Obviously a huge day for Joe Flacco. He's just still got it, man. He's still going to throw a lot of fantasy yards and points and things like that. So he might be my rest of season rankings tomorrow. I don't know where I'm going to put Joe Flacco because we do expect Joe Burrow back, but I think right now he's a QB1 in fantasy football, despite the lack of rushing. And then Chase Brown, finally a nice big game here for him. 11 carries, 8 receptions on the day to lead the team, and the targets led the team as well. So he's back as a running back too for PPR purposes with Flacco. And then I will note Noah Fant, not amazing numbers, 24 out of 50 routes. He's the lead tight end, only 2 catches on 2 targets, but 10.8 fantasy points. Like he's still playing well. He's a guy that's still going to be involved in the mix. I believe Samaje Perine left with an injury in this one. I can't remember if it was a concussion or not, which let Taj Brooks get some run. He didn't really do anything with that opportunity. So we'll see about Chase Brown, maybe another massive workload. He pretty much played the entire game. So nothing learned from Cincinnati. They just got to play some defense. But for fantasy, we don't want them to get better on defense. This was one of the more shocking outcomes of the day. Minnesota Vikings at Detroit. Minnesota wins this game. They don't really do anything fancy. They just capitalized on red zone and opportunities to get the playmakers the ball. JJ McCarthy, 19 fantasy points. I have to sneeze. Excuse me. But anyways, the Vikings, they were very efficient on the day. We did see Aaron Jones leave early. I think he left like second quarter with an AC joint sprain. They're saying it's okay. He might have a chance to play week 10, but we'll monitor that with the practice reports on Wednesday. He was playing really, really well. He had 9 carries in this one for I think over 70 yards. He caught his 2 passes and was on his way to a huge breakout game. Like he was setting the tone for the offense early. Jordan Mason played pretty much the entire second half, 10 rushing attempts, 1 reception, 5 points. If no Aaron Jones, will start Jordan Mason again next week. Justin Jefferson, just another game with a touchdown here. Good to see him play well with JJ McCarthy. You kind of wanted that first game back to be somewhat of a success. It wasn't a huge day, but you'll take your 16.7 fantasy points. Even Jordan Addison, 8 points. Hopefully that could be like a floor for him going forward. He didn't score a touchdown or anything, only had 2 catches, but he still made a couple big plays. We don't really care about Jalen Naylor and Adam Thielen for now. TJ Hawkinson catches a touchdown, but only 9 fantasy points. He's not necessarily a top 10, top 12 tight end for me. I think if I'm starting Vikings, like if Aaron Jones is healthy, I want to play Aaron Jones. If Aaron Jones is not healthy, I'll play Jordan Mason. But otherwise, it's Justin Jefferson for sure in our lineups every week. And then Addison's going to be that wide receiver 3 flex for us. And then McCarthy right now, man, let's see what he does next week against Baltimore. That could be a fun, high-scoring game. I think it's in Minnesota. Maybe McCarthy is like a top 15, top 16 QB in my rankings, just with that rushing upside. I think the outlook, this is a pretty big win going into Detroit. Very impressive victory for the Minnesota Vikings. They needed that. Detroit Lions, pretty good day for everybody not named Jahmyr Gibbs. Gibbs, I saw something where he was just attacked as a pass protector, and they really rattled him. He allowed a lot of pressures and things like that. We did see David Montgomery get a rushing touchdown, 11 fantasy points. We kind of know what he is. He's a low-end RB2 touchdown-dependent guy. Huge reception and target total for Amon-Ra. Finally, a Jameson Williams game. 4 catches, 16.6 fantasy points, and a touchdown. I know on my Sunday morning stream, I got a ton of Jameson Williams questions, and I was just like, I don't know yet. I want to see how this proceeds going forward. And they did make a point to get him involved early in this one. So maybe he's entering our circle of trust again. Sam Laporta is in our circle of trust. And then we'll just chalk this up as a bad Jahmyr Gibbs game. He'll get more on track next week. And then Jared Goff played fine. It wasn't anything that the Lions specifically did in this game here. They all kind of had their fantasy numbers. They just weren't prepared to stop that Vikings offense, it looked like. So fun game there in the NFC North. Probably the most frustrating game for me, at least, was the Packer game. And this was the one call that I think I felt the worst about. I thought Jalen Coker would have a better day. He did hop Xavier Legette in terms of snaps and routes. Like, he was the wide receiver too. So I feel good about that data point. But I thought he would be more involved. Bryce Young only completed 11 passes on the day. He barely threw for 100 yards. It was the Rico Dowdle breakout game part 2, 25 carries, 2 touchdowns, 2 catches, 28 fantasy points. He was in and out of the lineup with an injury. He just kept making big play after big play. And he might have showed a little way to beat the Packers here. You can run on the Packers. The Packers have had a good run defense all season, but that's usually because they're playing from ahead and teams have to pass. But if you can hang with the Packers and continue to run the football, you're going to be in good shape. So huge day for Rico Dowdle. Nobody else was really noteworthy. Ted McMillan still caught 4 passes, 8.6 fantasy points. You'll take that as your wide receiver 3 flex, but nothing really notable of note. So we'll just kind of move on from the Panthers. Packers. I do see Tony's comment in there about Luke Musgrave here. I think Luke Musgrave he's not going to be in my top 10, top 12 tight end rankings. We'll say that. They're still going to use 2-3 guys at the position. It was nice to see Musgrave make a few plays here. He's going to be inconsistent. And honestly, Kraft had been kind of inconsistent. He's had those big boom games, and sometimes they kind of fall away from him. But Musgrave, he's not an all-around tight end. He's pretty much a receiving guy. They don't really want to leave him out there blocking and things like that. So I'm not really quite sure his role expands all that much. He's obviously going to get more routes, but his playing time could kind of be similar to what it's been. I don't know who their third tight end that they're going to call up is if they have a healthy guy. It might be Ben Sims, if I remember correctly. But he's worth picking up, but I don't really view him as a top 10, top 12 must start. Obviously, Tucker Kraft is a huge loss for this offense, and the data suggests that they're going to be less efficient without Kraft going forward. But Musgrave, he runs like a baby horse. He's still this big, lanky guy. Can't really block, but they're going to find ways to get him downfield. Big day for Romeo Doubs in this one. The Packers box score looks fine. This doesn't look like a team that lost. Like, Josh Jacobs got his 20 fantasy points. Romeo Doubs made plays. Christian Watson made a couple big catches. Matthew Golden left with a shoulder injury. But for the most part, it sounds like he's going to be okay. And I think Jaden Reed coming back maybe at some point in November is going to be a huge way to kind of counter this Tucker Kraft loss. I think if he's available in your leagues, you should probably pick him up. I don't know what to make of this Packers offense. I mean, they look so good against the Steelers, and they come back and kind of lay this egg against the Panthers, but they were very inconsistent in the red zone, 1 of 5. I think we're just going to chalk this up as a bad day at the office for the Packers and see if they can get back on track against the Philadelphia Eagles. I'll still keep starting Jordan Love as a low-end QB. Romeo Doubs is in my lineup. Christian Watson's more of a flex call. You could pick up Luke Musgrave. I don't know if I'm going to start him, though, against the Eagles. Denver Broncos, Houston Texans. We did see a really fun ending for this one. Bo Nix was able to lead his team into game-winning field goal range. This was a tough matchup on paper. Like, I was recommending to sit Bo Nix in this game. Ends up with 18 fantasy points. He had some big runs in this one. He did get a touchdown to Cortland Sutton as well. And RJ Harvey keeps scoring touchdowns. So it's nice to see Harvey continuing to get more opportunities with this offense, especially near the red zone and in the passing game work. I just wish Tyler Beatty would go away. They're still using him. I wish we can get more RJ Harvey, but for now, he's kind of a boom bust RB2. And if they keep giving him high leverage situations, he can keep producing as a running back too for us. You're going to keep starting, I think, J.K. Dobbins, just because it's 15 to 20 touches per game. I think I'm fine with that. Better matchup this week against the Raiders. Keep starting J.K. Dobbins. But now we have to start really thinking about Harvey as a running back too. Sutton, only 1 catch, but it was for a touchdown. You'll be fine. Troy Franklin, though, I think he leads this team in targets now on the season. 4 catches, only 6.3 fantasy points, but he'll be a flex. No Marvin Mims, so we saw Pat Bryant play a little bit. Not really a guy that I'm super excited about, but for Dynasty League, sure. And then Evan Ingram kind of fell away on this one. Only 3 targets on the day, no catches. Broncos, tough matchup, but everybody kind of did their part for fantasy. If you started Broncos, you were probably okay. Even the Dobbins floor game, 7 points, I think it could have been worse. So Broncos come through and continue to be one of the best teams in the AFC. Houston Texans. CJ Stroud leaves with a concussion. They're leaving the door open for him to play in week 10. We're not quite sure. Usually when it's a concussion, I'm not going to expect the guy to play the following weekend. So Davis Mills stepped in. He was functional. Did not do anything amazing, but he was functional. He got the passes to Nico Collins and Dalton Schultz. I think if it is Davis Mills starting one more game, you're still going to start Nico. You can consider Dalton Schultz. But the running game, I want CJ Stroud in there because I think he's going to help the running game, just his ability to throw the ball deep and make teams have to think about things. Whereas Davis Mills, the defense can kind of tee off on him and stop the run game and make him have to win. So we'll see. Woody Marks was the lead back in this one in terms of snaps and routes. Nick Chubb gets one more rushing attempt and then no catches for Woody Marks on his targets. So this was a pretty ugly game. 2.7 points for Marks, 3.4 for Nick Chubb. They do play the Jags in week 10. So I think better days are ahead, even if it is Davis Mills. But those guys lose a little bit of value this week for us. But Christian Kirk was back, 7 targets. He's a deep flex call if you guys want to pick him up. But we'll see if the Texans can get their quarterback next week. Falcons, New England Patriots. We don't really need to spend too much time on this one. The Falcons are one of those teams where we just know what they're going to do every week. Bijan Robinson got there on his 8 receptions. Still not really getting a lot of big plays in the running game, but he's a really good receiver. He showed that. It was the Drake London game, 3 touchdowns on 9 catches, 14 targets, just absolutely unstoppable game from Drake London. So you're happy with that. Kyle Pitts did have 4 for 7.8 fantasy points. So this is a floor game for him. He continues to be a top 10, top 12 fantasy tight end option. Darnell Mooney, not really a guy in our circle of trust right now, only 1 target on the day. Did make that catch, but he's not really in our circle of trust. So the Falcons are pretty easy. You're going to keep starting Bijan, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts. Michael Penix, though, goes in on the road, throws 3 touchdowns, 22 fantasy points, looking better. I can't remember who they play this coming weekend here. I think they're in Germany with the Colts. So we'll consider Penix as a fringe QB1 option, but the Falcons pretty maintaining what we've been doing for fantasy. New England Patriots, on the other hand, this team is just so spread out. It's really tough for me to figure out what we're doing. No Ramondre Stevenson. We see TreVeyon Henderson lead the team with 51 snaps out of 68, 29 routes out of 40, gets 14 rushing attempts to lead the team. So that was good note. 5 targets, 4 catches. He gets 12 fantasy points. The only issue is he didn't get the rushing touchdown. That went to Terrell Jennings, which is frustrating, but we still got a lead back role for TreVeyon Henderson here. He looked good, made his catches, got you 12 fantasy points. So if you started him, you'll take those 12 points. But man, this Terrell Jennings is a thorn in the side here. We'll see if Ramondre comes back. It'd be nice to get maybe one more game of Henderson against Tampa Bay on his own. We did see Kayshon Boutte leave early in this one, which led to more Matt Collins, more Stephon Diggs, and then Kyle Williams stepped up and played more snaps and routes than he has at any point this season. Only 1 target, but it's nice to see him get a chance to get out there. It was Demario Douglas making the big plays. He had like 100 yards, he had a touchdown, 4 catches for 20 fantasy points. You got your Stephon Diggs floor. And then this was the toughest matchup on paper for tight ends, and Hunter Henry still came through with 9 fantasy points. So I think you're still starting him as a tight end 1. Drake May, floor game here, 16 points. I think you take that. So the Patriots are good. They're going to spread the ball out. We'll see if Ramondre's back next week, but still impressive run from the Patriots right now. San Francisco 49ers at the New York Giants. Christian McCaffrey, hopefully this is the last game for Mac Jones, but Christian McCaffrey just continues to ball out here. He didn't have a great game last week. He made up for it this one for you with 34 fantasy points. Juwan Jennings caught a touchdown. He remains a wide receiver 3 flex. Not really interested in Kendrick Bourne, Demarcus Robinson, and those other guys there. Floor game from George Kittle. He did have a rushing attempt in this one. He had 4 catches. You'll take the floor game here. It's still pretty predictable what we're going to be doing with San Francisco. We're watching the health of Ricky Pearsall, though. That's going to be a nice one when you get him back. And then Brock Purdy, obviously. But if Mac Jones is starting one more game next week, he lit the Rams up a few weeks back on Thursday Night Football. We'll see if he can do it again if he is the starter. But so much has been kind of the same for the 49ers. No, we didn't really learn anything new with these guys. New York Giants in their first game without Cam Skattebo. Kind of a weird one. Devin Singletary was the lead back in terms of snaps with 32 to Tracy's 25. Tracy did run more routes, 19 routes to 15 for Singletary. Singletary led the team with 8 rushing attempts, though, and 5 for Tracy. Tracy did catch 3 of his 4 targets. Singletary caught 2 of his 2 targets. So this looks like a 50-50 split, with Singletary the lead back edge right now. So Singletary should be a pickup on the waiver wire this week. If he gets a rushing touchdown next week, I'm not going to be surprised. But it does look like this is not going to be the Tyrone Tracy show that we maybe thought it was. I think he got dinged up in this one, but Singletary needs to be picked up on your waiver wire run this week. And then Jackson Dart, man, just fantasy quarterback 1. Like, he's a top 10 quarterback in fantasy football. I really don't know if I should be getting any more questions on Jackson Dart this year. Like, he has just come through. If it's not as a passer, it's been as a runner. And then when we get those both in the same game, he's putting up 27 fantasy points. It was a frustrating day for Darius Slayton, who did drop a touchdown at the end of the game. Could have had a bigger day. Wan'Dale Robinson did catch 9 passes, but only 46 yards. You're going to keep firing him up in PPR leagues. But Slayton still looks good. I know he had a frustrating drop, but he's worth picking up if he's available on your waiver wires. Not a huge day from Theo Johnson, but he catches the touchdown. He remains in the main target tree for Jackson Dart, so he should be added as well. But man, Giants, they're a fun team. They did kind of get boat raced in this one, but I think the Giants got a QB, man. I think they got one. Colts, Steelers, pretty frustrating day from the Colts all around. This is the floor game from Jonathan Taylor. I'm not going to bat an eye on this one. We'll just let it be and move on. Daniel Jones did struggle in this one. He threw some touchdowns, though. I think he had maybe just the 1 touchdown. I can't remember. But he had the interceptions, which was the ultimately the big issue today. But Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman, Josh Downs all come through. No Tyler Warren really in this one. He did catch 5 passes, but he was held in check for the most part by the Steelers D. It was just Alec Pierce, Pittman, and Downs making the big plays as the Colts were playing from behind and had to throw the ball a ton. Alec Pierce should be picked up. I think in deeper leagues, man, he's been in a pretty good sync with Daniel Jones. Michael Pittman, obviously, you're starting him. But I think right now, Pierce and Downs, I'm going to probably be listing him as wide receiver 3 flexes in my start-sit charts going forward. I think against Atlanta, they'll have a better day with Jonathan Taylor and getting the ball moving. The Steelers, good game from the Steelers. It was the Jaylen Warren game for me. 17 fantasy points, gets you a touchdown, playing really well. Kenneth Gainwell was used a lot as a receiver, but it's still Jaylen Warren's backfield for the most part. 16 carries, only 3 for Kenneth. Rodgers was fine. He was efficient. 25 completions on 34 targets in this one. No DK Metcalf, though. This was all about the tight ends. Darnell Washington getting a lot of run. 41 snaps as the lead blocker, but 17 routes, 6 targets to lead the team, 4 catches, 8.3 fantasy points. Pat Freiermuth made plays. Jonnu Smith made plays. It's frustrating. We want one tight end here, but Arthur Smith just has to use all these guys, and they all have to eat into each other's workload. So really no tight end is usable for me for fantasy unless you're in a desperate situation. So that's just the way it was today. The tight ends 8. Calvin Austin had a good game, though. I think he could be added in deeper leagues as a wide receiver 3 flex, and just a good win. The Steelers had a tough loss against the Packers on Sunday Night Football, but they come back and get a huge momentum win to kind of get their season back on track. Chargers at Titans. We don't need to talk much about this one. It was pretty disappointing with Kamani Vidal losing work to Jarrett Patterson. He just was not very effective. Losing Joe Alt is a big deal for this team. It's going to knock the points off of the running backs and a little bit of the efficiency out of Justin Herbert's numbers. But Herbert was still dealing. He had the rushing touchdown through 2 passes. Quentin Johnston catches 1. Who caught the other one? Scott Matlock, the fullback, the Mack truck fullback, catches a touchdown. But Quentin Johnston, good to see him targeted early and often in this one, making some big catches, and the touchdown, obviously. McConkey, that's your floor game. You're fine with that. Trey Harris is starting to play more. I think in dynasty formats, you're liking that. He did play more snaps than Keenan Allen, but Keenan Allen is still the wide receiver 3. The emergence of Gadsden has taken some steam off of Keenan Allen. He's getting a lot of those short, quick routes that Keenan was getting open on. I think I'm going to be ranking Quentin and Keenan as wide receiver 3 flexes going forward, but starting to lose a little bit of value on our Keenan Allen shares. And then Oronde Gadsden, he's really good, guys. I think he might be a top 10 fantasy tight end the rest of the way for me. But Justin Herbert, Like, he's playing at an MVP level right now. He's playing fantastic. We just need some healthy offensive linemen. I want to get Amari and Hampton back, and this offense can be really, really fun. We don't really need to talk about the Tennessee Titans. They did get a pick 6 in this one to keep them in the game. Tony Pollard led the team with touches in this one, 10 rushing attempts to Tajay 7. Just nothing really happening. Elikayu Maynor was the lead receiver on the day. The tight ends caught a couple like there's just nothing here on offense. So pretty frustrating. The Titans, man, we're kind of just not getting better. Maybe the trade deadline can spruce some things up, but I don't think they're going to move Calvin Ridley. I do think Tony Pollard could get moved, though. Alrighty, New Orleans Saints. We don't have to talk much about this one. Tyler Shuck's first game, he didn't like completely crap the bed, which is fine. But Alvin Kamara is playing terrible. We saw him kind of get benched for Devin Neal in this one. You're going to keep starting Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed as wide receiver 3 flexes, and then Juwan Johnson can still be your tight end 1 if you need it. But I kind of want to stay away from this team, man. It's just not happening. I ranked Alvin Kamara as a running back 3 flex in my start sit charts for week 10. So it's just not happening. I would avoid Saints if I can, but I still like Olave and Shaheed as deep flexes if you need them. The Rams had their way. They kind of did whatever they wanted. Adams, Puka Nacua, Kieran Williams did his thing with 25 attempts. Blake Corum got a lot of rushing attempts in this one. Nacua is going to be fine, it sounds like, with his rib injury, but just everything was just too easy for the Rams. Stafford was able to do what he wanted. The tight ends got involved. We had 4 tight ends play. They combined for 10 catches. They were just making huge plays as they're doing more 2 and 3 tight end stuff for the Rams. So good stuff there. Didn't really learn much, just that they're going to use this tight end factory here and keep making big plays in the run game and in the passing game. So I did get the Bashal Tutin touchdown. He almost had one more at the end of the game, so that would have been really cool. But the difference between him and Tony Pollard, which was my question, was like 1 or 2 points. So I would have liked a bigger day. But I do think there's some steam here. The Jags want to run the football more. That's what we learned. They ended up with 38 rushing attempts on the day. Tutin gets 9, ETN gets 22. LaQuint Allen looked good on his 10-yard run. And then, of course, Trevor Lawrence with the flu game here, 9 rushing attempts, 2 rushing touchdowns. Not the most impressive game from Jacksonville. They kind of slept through the first half. They were moving the ball, had the bad interception in the red zone, 68-yard field goal from the Jags. But they kept running the ball. And then Trevor Lawrence losing receivers. He lost Diami Brown earlier in this one. Brian Thomas finally made a big catch. Hurts his ankle. We'll find out more about that, I think, tomorrow or Wednesday. But Parker Washington, man, if you did not pick up Parker Washington, or if he's available in your league, he's probably the priority on the waiver wire this week. 9 targets, 8 catches. They kind of use him as like a tight end in a way. He's the middle of the field guy. He runs a lot of horizontal breaking stuff. A guy that can run well after the catch. He's a fun player, and I think his rest of season value does look pretty good. We did get good news on Travis Hunter, who might be back maybe by December. We'll find that out. But Parker Washington continues to be an impressive player for the Jags. The tight ends aren't going to be valuable. I will say Brenton Strange is back, I think, week 11, hopefully. So he's someone that I think could be stashed. He could be a busy guy here, but we have to find out about this BTJ injury. ETN was the best player on the field, and Trevor Lawrence, another gutty fourth quarter comeback win and into overtime. The Brock Bowers show, man. Welcome back, Brock Bowers. He scores 43 points in this one, making up for lost time, I guess, huh? Like, he was the entire offense for Geno Smith. We saw Geno Smith have his best fantasy day with 26 fantasy points. Ashton Jeanty in the Raiders offensive line still not producing big running numbers, but as a receiver, Jeanty catches all 5 of his targets, gets a receiving touchdown. Trey Tucker and Jacoby Myers, floor games with their 6 points. Those guys are like deep wide receiver 3 flexes for now, but this offense is going to be continuing to surround Brock Bowers, Ashton Jeanty, and hopefully some big plays to the receivers. We'll see if Jacoby Myers gets traded, but this is a good sign for the Raiders that we have some life with Brock Bowers back. The offense did look better in this one. All right, Kansas City Chiefs. Pat Mahomes did not look good in this one. He was making some I thought some poor decisions and some choices and things like that. They kind of just played from behind in this one. They weren't really able to establish the run. And Worthy had a ton of opportunities in this one. I think I got this mixed up. I believe it was Worthy with the 6.1 and Rice with the 6. There we go. So it was a big day for Worthy, not for Worthy, for Rashee Rice, who had the rushing attempts and he got the rushing touchdown. He made a couple big, that fourth quarter, I think it might have been fourth quarter, but that fourth down play with Rice was pretty big. But Mahomes spreads the ball out here. You're still starting Travis Kelce. You're starting Rice. You're starting Worthy. And then Kareem Hunt held his own. I think Brashard Smith, we're not quite there. Like, as long as Hunt's healthy and we're getting Pacheco back, we might be moving on from Brashard Smith. I just don't know if he can handle it in between the tackles. So not going to panic on this one. This was a tough game on the road. We'll get better days. I think the Chiefs head into their bye. Week 10, rest up, and we'll be back with the foot on the gas on the other side of the bye. The Bills, though, everything looked really good. James Cook can handle a workload. No touchdown in this one, but you take your floor points. It was Ty Johnson who got the rushing touchdown, so that's always frustrating. But Josh Allen just doing the most, 28.82 fantasy points. It was the Dalton Kincaid game, man. He had over 100 yards in this one, I believe. 22 fantasy points. Still not, like, super impressive with his snaps. Like, he ran 23 snaps out of 66. Like, that's just not good. But 16 routes out of 30, also not good, about 50%. But he's getting hyper targeted when he's out there. 6 targets, 6 catches, huge plays in the passing game from Dalton Kincaid. He remains a top 10 tight end. And then Khalil Shakir is really the only other usable guy on this offense. We're not getting that step from Keon Coleman as a must-start player in year 2. It's pretty much Shakir, Cook, Allen, and then consider Kincaid as your tight end. And then this Sunday night football game, it was so bad. Great for the Seahawks. That first half was amazing. Sam Darnold was nearly perfect. He had 4 touchdown passes in this one. Amazing game from Sam Darnold. He did whatever he wanted. Torrey Horton with the 2 touchdowns. Cody White with the big one. AJ Barner played well. Elijah Arroyo had that 4th touchdown. But just spreading the ball out to everybody. I'm still frustrated with the running back split. I thought Kenneth Walker looked good. Zach Charbonnet had some moments. The fact that they were able to blow this one out, though, and we didn't get any running back points was a little frustrating. But, oh, my goodness. Jackson Smith-Njigba. He might be the best player catching the football right now. And then I will say Rashee Rice he's going to be a top 5 receiver in my rankings tomorrow for the rest of season rankings. I will have him in the top 5 firmly. But Jackson Smith-Njigba might be my number 1 wide receiver rest of season tomorrow. So he's just playing lights out, and Sam Darnold and his connection right now, those two are in sync, and it looks really good. The Seahawks might be the best team in the NFC. I don't know. There's a lot of teams that I like in the NFC, but the way the Seahawks are playing on both sides of the ball right now, and they're just able to spread it out. And this was even without Cooper Kupp, which might be a good thing as they get some of these young guys on the field and add some more juice. But just a very impressive day from the Seahawks. And then we're going to pour one out for Jayden Daniels here. We didn't really get a lot of information. I guess the good news is it's not as bad as it could have been, but that looked really ugly. This game just wasn't close. Why was he out there that late in the game doing this stuff? Pretty frustrating day. And I don't really know what to do with the Commanders going forward. Like, this team is not making the playoffs. This team is not good on either side of the ball. They can't run the ball. And now we get Marcus Mariota in there. So keep firing out Deebo Samuel, Zach Ertz, I guess. I don't want to touch the running backs. It's looking like a lost season for the Commanders. So frustrating with Terry McLaurin injury as well. So pretty disappointing Sunday night football game. But we do have Monday night football left. We have the Cowboys hosting the Arizona Cardinals. I expect CeeDee Lamb to do as he pleases tonight, man. I think you're looking at a huge game. I think this could be a sneaky fun game on both sides. Like, the Cowboys games, they just tend to go over 60 points. So I'm expecting them to keep this fast-paced. I like Jacoby Brissett throwing the ball on the other side, which could force the Cowboys to have to keep throwing the ball. So hopefully, 100 yards for CeeDee Lamb. We get those touchdowns rolling. I expect CeeDee Lamb to be one of the best players on the field tonight. So we'll give him 22 fantasy points tonight. I don't know, 6 for 120 and a touchdown, something like that sounds about right. Maybe more than 6 catches. So I do like Mr. Lamb tonight. And good evening to Sports Dog. Oh, my goodness. Fantastic, dude. So I don't remember if it was Sports Dog yesterday, if it was the Sam Darnold versus Jaden Daniels question. I think I gave you Jaden Daniels, and I was watching that game, and I'm like, I felt like such an idiot. But you scored 215 points. I would say pretty good week, my man. So well done, Sport Dog. And then I did see Salvatore's comment in here. Let me see what else we got. So usually I turn comments off for these just so I can fire through all the notes and get through everything. Salvatore says he traded George Pickens for Rico. We have Jamar Chase, Rashi Rice, Quentin Johnson, Keyshawn Beauty. My running backs are Achan, JT, Scat Pack. I think that's Scataboo, but he's hurt. My only running back is Chuba. So, okay, I'm cool with this. I think Jamar Chase, Rashi Rice, and Quentin Johnson can hold the fort down. I don't really love Keyshawn Booty, but I think Rico Dowdle is locked in to a must-start role the rest of the way. So he's your locked-in running back 3. You have 3 good receivers. I'm fine with this deal. I do like the way George Pickens has been playing. Could have maybe got more for Rico, but it looks really good right now because Rico was a freak yesterday. He played out of his mind, and he kind of single-handedly beat the Packers last night. So good game from Rico. I really like Rico. He was one of my favorite players last year, and it's good to see him kind of taking over in Carolina. So we had a lot of fun watching football. We're going to get a good game tonight. I do have to get out of here for the evening, though, so I want to say thank you guys for hanging out with me on this Monday evening. Good luck tonight, and tomorrow night we'll go live with the Waiver Wire Show, 7 p.m. Central Time. We'll be there. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. Enjoy the game. Peace.